I'm finally at a point on this Bronco where the front end for the most part is all together. I still have to do a couple things like limit straps, and there's something else, but just a couple little things. For the most part, it's all laid out though. Front suspension with all the steering. Oh, that's what I gotta do. I still gotta make some steering components and then the double shear tabs. All the steering is gonna be double shear on everything. I don't like seeing single shear on steering. There's a lot of companies that do it, but for me, that's pretty sketchy. You watch those trucks and those bolts just sit there and wiggle when they got one bolt holding two like tie rods on a steering knuckle. So not a fan of that. So everything will be getting double sheared yet. But yeah, you can kind of see for the most part, I'm getting ready to, once I get those last couple things, the limit straps and the steering all done, I need to pull all this stuff back out and actually come in and final weld everything. There's a lot of stuff not welded yet, or that just has like a single pass on it. So, but yeah, little update on the Bronco. I haven't really done a ton of filming, or if I have, it's too much to go through it. So kind of just catching up to where I'm at, making the shock hoops, made this top over bar. So also in mind, this thing is getting it's got a big block in it right now, but it's getting the 2027 3 Ford gas motor. So trying to design all this stuff in mind of just keeping it really clean, really simple, and also giving the most amount of room as possible for taking this engine out, putting another engine in, making it all compatible. So got this crossover bar that's tucked up in the high. You know, there's still quite a bit of clearance on the hood when the hood's shut, but then should be enough clearance in there for that new motor. This big block fits. So need to weld these up yet, make some little tabs. I'm gonna have some more gussets coming down off of here to brace into this shock tower. The way that I designed these shock towers is I left, as of right now, we're just putting coilovers on this build, but in case you ever want to add bypasses to this project, it'll be a pretty simple add. I've thought of that already, so you can see why this shock brace is maybe a little wide. I could have just done a more pointed hoop, but I've left room here for a bypass. And then, yeah, I'm going to have bracing to this crossover tube. And then there's still room off the front side of the axle to make a tab up in here for adding a bypass, and same for the other side as well. So if the build ever gets to that point of wanting to add bypasses to this thing, it's still an option and we can still do it. So, and then the shock hoops are tied in with these standoffs, which are capped on both ends and then welded to the frame, and then there's a plate slipped over, welded to that, and then welded to this tube, and then these will be fully welded. These all just have single pass right now. They need to get another pass, but that's kind of how I got the shock hoops on there. And then obviously the up in there, the crossover brace, which will help transfer load across there to these tubes and not be flexing them. May add another brace actually in between here, down in the middle, a removable bar. So something I've been thinking about adding. It'd be nice not to have a permanent bar in there for working on things such as just like spark plugs and wires. But at the same time, it would be nice to have one more connecting point right where the force is, down straight to the frame, which also is right where the bump stop is. So I'm thinking I'm gonna make something that ties in here with a bolt, something boltable that then goes up and will tie into the bottom of the cage there. So something that could be removable, but to help transfer that load from the bump stops up into that shock hoop, all in over into the crossover. So that's yeah, kind of where I'm at on the Bronco. So starting to take shape. Shocks are all on there. Stuff isn't in final position. I may end up moving these up there, all sorts of different stuff, but for the most part, I've been able to cycle it, move it. I've had the tires on it. This right here is exactly where it sits with the tires. So all that up travel from ride height. This thing is keeping it still relatively small ride height. It's still, my garage is only a 7-foot door. So everything I build, I still want to make it in and out a 7-foot door with and have all the travel. So This thing is really focused on bump travel and good geometry, good steering, all on up travel, primarily for driving on the road and in the dunes. So that's what this thing is going to get seen doing. As you can see, the body of this thing's super clean. So not going to be really hitting up like the rock parks and all those types of places. But yeah, that's where we're at for now. Hopefully get more updates on this as I keep plugging away.
You are an incredibly big piece of shit.
I got the trans pulled out of this thing, or at least just out of the truck so I could pull the converter out, look at the pump. I'm kind of digging into this thing a little bit, figure out what happened. If you look, here's the torque converter. You can see there's a little bit of gold up metal on there on the torque converter. So actually what was happening is this thing was it was gushing fluid out past the front pump seal, right around the outside here of the torque converter. So I'm not 100% sure what that means. I really don't know that much, but what I'm gonna do to get me back on the dunes, hopefully for this weekend, I am just gonna swap my old converter into it. So this is my old converter that I ran all last year. I've ran for quite a while. I'm gonna put that in, and then this is my old transmission. This one has got the clutches burnt up. The pump is still working. So I'm just gonna pull this pump out and then pull the pump that's out of that transmission out, and then put this pump in that transmission with this converter. And I'm gonna find out, because I don't really know if it's something I did or just the seal didn't get put in right or something like that. I'm more leaning towards it something I didn't do right, and maybe something to do with this converter. Not really sure. So here's I guess the pump I'm going to be putting in. There's the one that was in it that was blowing oil out of the seal there. So this is the one that's out of this trans here, and I am ready to grab this thing and throw it in there. I've got the pump out of my trans here, and I've got the other pump out, so pretty much ready to just kind of clean that seal all up. And I am ready to go grab the other pump and slide it in there and put it in. So that's all torqued in, and now I am ready to put in the old converter. So as soon as I throw this converter in, I can start putting this trans back up to my bell housing and getting everything all hooked up and get lines all hooked up and get fluid in it and find out if we fixed the problem or if we have done nothing. Just got the trans all back together, got the torque converter in, got all the lines all hooked back up. Power lines, got the drive shaft all hooked up. Got it still on a jack. I'm gonna fire it up and just spin it in neutral a little bit, get the fluid level. I've already put, I don't remember how many quarts in, but quite a few. I'll fire it up now, check for leaks, and start topping off fluid. Hopefully, there's already a little wet around there, so that's not a good sign. All right, here we go. So far it all seems good. I'm just checking for leaks. I don't see anything as of yet. So I'll probably throw this thing in neutral and start letting the rear end warm up, let the trans warm up a little bit, and start checking fluid levels. So that's cool. So far, no major leaks. I got a little bit of an AN fitting that I might swap out. It might be cross-threaded or had sand in it that's leaking a little bit, but truck's warming up. I'm checking fluids, about ready to take the thing for a cruise around the block and test everything out.